if you have in your mindset before you ever walk in that the people you are about to meet, whether you know them or not, matter.
Yeah, come on.
And whether or not they are in situations that are less comfortable than you, or they're doing just fine, thank you, right now. But we've all been through stuff, and we're still going to go through stuff.
Welcome everyone to Friday Conversations. This is our live weekly conversation where we slow things down a little bit, take some time to think and clearly communicate about what's going on in business and in real life. We've got a great group here today. Dave, would you mind getting us started with introductions?
Absolutely, love to do that. Welcome everybody, and everybody out there, those hundreds of people that are listening to us. What we're going to do today is introduce who you are, just a little bit about you, and then say who you are one more time before you move on to the next person. I'm Dave Ribble from Standout Mastery. I coach and teach communication and connection and collaboration skills. And I'd love to talk to anybody that wants to get better at those kind of things. I'm going to hand it off now to Stephen Hicks. Guess this would be a good time for him to tell you who he is.
Yeah, my name is Steve Hicks with Thriving Body Holistic Fitness. I am the energy and metabolism coach for people over 30.
My name is James. I'm with Concierge, so that is Conciears. I'm a travel agent that specializes in helping to plan trips into Disney destinations, Universal, and cruise lines, helping to take the stress out of vacation planning, being with you from start to finish.
I'm Todd with Lump, LOMP.ai, lots of moving parts, an AI tool that allows the buyer to be placed in front of the seller. That's LOMP.ai.
All right, welcome. I'm Jonathan Biron. I am host of this little thing called Friday Conversations and also a realtor. I love selling houses. I love helping people buy houses. I love everything that has to do with real estate. So if you're Mark Luna, you just snuck right in.
I snuck right in.
I'll let Cherie introduce herself, but welcome. I'm glad you're here.
Thank you.
Cherie, you're welcome too. Just in case.
I'm Cherie Sauer, owner of Success Without Sacrifice. I help high-performing business owners grow and scale without burnout. The Olympics are happening right now. My background is working with Olympic athletes and helping you reach gold in your business.
Excellent.
Good afternoon. My name is Mark Luna. I'm a mortgage lender with New American Funding. We're a solutions-based sort of lender, so anything traditional banks can't do, generally we can do. Again, Mark Luna, New American Funding. Happy to be here.
Fantastic.
Yeah, my name is Lauren Baker. I work with Perfectus Business Consulting. Basically, we help entrepreneurs acquire, grow, and then exit their business at their timing. Great to be here. I love these folks. This is really all about connecting one-to-one with people. So excited you guys are listening online.
Debbie.
Hey, I'm Debbie Ramirez with Champion Empire. We help business owners who are stressed out, overwhelmed, and stuck, trying to figure out their direction and how to make their dreams happen, to connect with a deep bench of advisors who work with them to create a customized plan and make the thing happen.
Zane.
Hello, I'm Zane Schwendiman. I'm with Zebra Go, and we specialize in answering phones for busy professionals who want to get the job done that they signed up to do and not do customer service.
Alec.
My name's Alec Gonzalez. I'm a life coach and spiritual director. I like to work with clergy if you know someone or are in ministry of some kind and you want to slow things down, have a conversation, something like this, a space that's clear and free of, well, your backyard. I'd love to talk to you outside your silo.
Professor Reuter.
Hey everyone, Rob Reuter with IDIC Designs. I work with small business owners to help them capitalize on technology and putting it to work for them in their business.
Excellent. Yeah.
How's it going, everybody? I'm Scott, and I'm a welder, artist. I've been making solid fire pits for about 8.5 years now, and that's my whole spiel.
Hey, my name is Sherman. I'm with the Phase. I'm a web solution engineer. From websites to custom solutions, we got you covered.
Fantastic. Well, it's gonna be a good day, John.
It is, isn't it?
So lead us off, kick us off. What are we gonna talk about today?
All right, well, I appreciate that. First of all, I do want to thank Idic Designs and Dryfly. They are the host for our food, and Dryfly is hosting us generously in their mezzanine every week, which segues nicely to an open invitation to anybody that's watching from home. We would love to have you here in the room. We had to expand our table today, and we're once again reaching the limits of our technology, and that's a good problem to have. So we're going to figure that out as we go, but that, I think, is a good segue to the topic that is really been on my heart all week. I went to an event, Debbie's organization, Champion Empire, hosted an event on Monday. Was it Monday?
Yeah.
Gosh, that feels like ages ago. This felt like the longest week in a good way. And one of the things that came out, and I love Champion Empire for this, because every time I'm there, I catch this in their culture, and it's so important. It's this idea of mattering and the idea that you matter. So I want to start today I want everybody to take a minute thank you, Stephen. Stephen's cleaning up our lens. I usually do that first before we get, anyway, thank you, Stephen. For those of you that were distracted by that, we're good now, yeah? Was there just a blob right in front of you?
Right in front of Dave.
Right in front of Dave.
I wanted to make sure people could see the man of the hour.
It's important.
Kind of look like this, John.
Oh, man. My apologies. You still matter. You still matter.
What's the topic today, John?
That's the topic.
Okay.
The topic is mattering. And
Okay.
so I want everybody in the room, everybody at home, I want you for a minute to just hear that phrase, you matter. Applied to yourself, hear it from my voice, I'm the one speaking, but hear it in your own voice. And I want you to turn that around and say, I matter. And I'm encouraging you to do that because that makes me uncomfortable. When I say I matter, I go into my head, I go into conversations I've had, I go into the long view of eternity, this idea like the universe is so big and I'm just this little tiny speck on a chunk of earth, rock, spinning around in space, all that stuff. Like, do I really matter? And one of the reasons that we do this is to slow down and have those hard conversations outside of our head. Because I will hear somebody like Jesse at Champion Empire talk about mattering, and I will wholeheartedly agree. Yes, this is important stuff. You matter, people matter, and I want people to know that they matter. But then I go into my head and I just internalize it, and I don't ever really get to have big conversations about it. So I'll get to have a conversation with Debbie as an example, and we have a great conversation about it, but that's just kind of like, it just ends there. And so here we are in a group, and it's neat to kind of look around the room and be like, yeah, Mark matters, Lauren matters, Debbie matters. And I'm not going to go around the whole table, but like,
You guys don't
Sure,
matter.
we don't matter.
the rest of you.
Why did he stop?
Because you got to me.
So that's the pace I want to set, and I want to hear from those at the table here. And if you're on Facebook watching, like, jump into the comments and like talk about how that lands for you. Where do you process? Where do you go? Not when you think about other people mattering. When you think about yourself mattering, do you really believe that you matter? Do you think that you matter? Do you feel like you matter? To whom do you matter? And that's about all I'm going to do to launch this. And I'm going to allow that to settle.
I think you hit it there at the end where you said to who, because that was my first thought when you're talking about this is, yeah, we matter, but are we really looking at who we matter to and the impact that we have? Because it's really easy to start looking at the world and what impact am I going to have? Who am I going to affect in this world? And we kind of, you're sitting up higher. You're not seeing everybody that's there holding you up. You're just looking out beyond. And so really looking to see who you matter to is where you can feel more comfortable saying, okay, I do matter because I can see the people around me.
That's huge. I like that.
I go right to the issue of scale. Because we have a history and I think there's always this attempt to recapture the way it was, the way, I mean, when I was growing up, I was in a 3-grade, actually, no, I think it was more like 4-grade classroom. So from 1st through 4th grade, I had the same teacher and I was in literally the same room all the way. And it was easy to feel like we were the center of attention. And sometimes I think we bring that experience with us, that internal we matter, but pretty soon we run into scale and we realize that, I always equate it this way. When our country was founded, there were 3 million beings in the boundaries of what we call the United States today. Today, there's over almost 400 million.
Wow.
So it's hard to feel like in 400 million, we matter. But the reality is we have to remember that, it's our influence, it's our connections with other people that contribute to that. And that's where we should be focusing. We matter to our family, to our business associates, to Dave teaching us the 250 people that we interact with or know about. We do matter to each one of those. And sometimes we have to accept our bank doesn't know us. But that's okay, because there are people we can know to whom we matter.
I think sorry, Todd, I think the topic of scale is really interesting because that goes back to like your introduction as well. When you put out that topic, you matter. Sometimes I struggle with these conversations because I know there's a lot of conversations, especially matter and worth and those sort of words that I never have that internal dialogue, that type of self-doubt. Like it's very obvious that I matter. Maybe that's arrogance or narcissism. But I also have kind of that on the cosmic scale, like the nihilist view of like nothing matters. Like in 100 years, no one's gonna remember your name. Like you'll just be stardust somewhere in the cosmos. It doesn't matter. Which is great for stress management and like small little decisions. Who cares? But it is really interesting to see that interplay on the micro level, like you and your own sphere versus the macro, and even in kind of that I think that mesosphere is where things get messy, where it's in the middle, where it's you and a few others, where it's you within the community. I think that's probably where things get a little bit more messy, is that comparative and that hierarchy.
Comparison is a huge aspect of that for sure.
I don't want to cut off if Todd had something. Do you want to jump in? Because I want to interact with I love what you said.
I'll go next.
Okay. So yeah, I think that part, we're kind of tearing apart things that are, it really comes down to huge philosophical beliefs or inherent sense of value. And then that question of what we talked about a few weeks ago of purpose, right? Which is embattled, right? Like there's some component of it that's spiritual. There's some component of it that's philosophical. There's some component that's, deeply personal beliefs held. And that the part that I find so interesting is, Stephen, I know you, and so I work outside of Champion. I do wellness consulting and work with the whole community. And I work with somebody who works with you and see the impact that you're making on their life at a very critical time of their life. And I know that you care deeply about those people. So you matter to them. And when you show up, you're intentional about the way that you show up. I'm curious if you do your business just to make a living, or if you do it because of the impact, in addition to that you make on other people, and where you find mattering in that.
No, I think, the stuff that I do for my business sometimes feels weird because I hate the concept that we've all agreed to have jobs. So like what I do is like, I talk about health and wellness and feeling happy and energetic. And, I don't know if it's about like a personal meaning, but it's my sense of play. A lot of the stuff that I do with clients just feels more like play than work. And I'm pretty sure if I had a 9 to 5, I would go insane.
You bring up,
And I guess the question I have is, when you work with your clients, it seems to me, and I might be wrong, that you're pretty intentional about working with them toward goals. Like you have a vision for their health and their outcomes, or you're working with them to envision that to get them to that. Is that right?
Yes, I can see that from a 3,000. In the moment, I think it's more just being in the moment, which is probably why I said like work feels more like play. If we go with the macro nihilistic, everything doesn't matter in 100 years, like type view, like in the moment's what's really important. And even in health and wellness, when you have those longer goals, I always bring it back to like, hey, we also want to do those things that make you feel great right now, not gratified, but make you feel vital from the inside out. But it's kind of in the moment, which is maybe we talked about scale, like on quantity, but I think we can talk about scale and time scale as well. Like in 100 years, does it matter? Maybe not. What about this afternoon? Sure matters a lot.
Interesting. That's cool.
I would contribute because Stephen is my coach. And one of the things that I think relates to you matter that I've experienced with Stephen is that he doesn't see a program and then pushes it out to everyone the same way. So I know I challenge his sense of organization. Just do this. And I just don't do that. And yet Stephen hasn't given up. He hasn't just said, okay, write Rob off because he just doesn't fit the mold. He's always thinking. He's always looking at this as a relationship, and he's going, what can I do to adapt what I know to what Rob needs? And I think that's a part of mattering, is if you see something that you do as just simply, this is good for everybody, and if they don't follow it, they're lost, and you jettison them, that flies in the face of you matter. There has to be, I mean, boundaries exist. You have to let go if somebody just will not, engage with you. But I think what Stephen has in terms of you matter is that willingness to think, I got an idea. When do you have time? Let's talk. And that, I think, Stephen, you talked about being in the moment. Listen, collect information, and then apply it to what you know and say, here's a modification. Let's try this.
In the moment would be a good topic down the road. So I don't know how many people out there or in here, but I was like, mattering, is that really a word? So I looked it up. It says mattering is the feeling or belief that you are significant, important, valued by others, and that your existence makes a difference. So that's pretty profound. And we all matter. Being an entrepreneur, we have an inherent belief or responsibility that we put others in front of our needs because we're entrepreneurs. That's what we do. We're in a service business, a hospitality business. But the uniqueness that I believe that I have to show my friends, my associates, whomever I've come in contact with that they matter, is I do something very unique at least twice a day. Is I look up a photograph that I took 6 months ago, a year ago, 2 years ago, and I send it to them. And I go, I miss you. Just like that. It could be a friend, it could be associate, but that freaks them out because they haven't seen that photograph, but it brings back a flood of memory, but it tells them they matter. So
So.
I'm done.
It's good, I like that.
I think, thinking about whether you matter or not, really what we're talking about is identity. And I think one of the things we struggle with in our culture is identity stuff, because our identity, we're told over and over again, it's about me, make my own decisions, look inside. There's validity to those things for sure. But the truth is our identity is really formed by the communities we're in, right? Like that's actually how we know who we are, by how everyone else is looking. So when we think about mattering, I think this is hard for us as 21st century North Americans sometimes, because we're so ingrained with individual. Y'all just look at what's going on in our culture right now. I kind of wonder sometimes, we're not allowing the collective to define the individual. And that's not really an answer to the question. It's a little bit abstract, but I think it matters because we're being told me. I think it's good. We. I'm a we over me kind of person anyway.
In that subject of we, I think that becomes the spiritual conversation of how it just, you could do something as broad as team spirit, like if you play or have a partial favoritism towards a certain team, you share a spirit with a we that everyone follows that spirit. That is where it comes, you know, like a good handful of people are in the same spirit of coaching or mentorship or, you know, helping people formulate better systems. So that you guys are all in a similar spirit there. And with you, you're in the spirit of fitness or that type of specific niche. And then me as an artist, I struggle with the dilemma and polarity of mattering a lot, because the ego and the individual in me does hold onto very tightly the idea of mattering based on the sheer audacity of living this way. You know, like you said, the idea of having a job, it's like it's soul crushing. So, the idea that I am somehow this enigmatic example of someone that's living as an artist, making money, putting gas in their tank, living in that a spirit that I have a sense of duty to show and to be an example, to show people that, hey, it's possible you could do it too. And you and everyone here knows that if someone truly emulated their own systems, that they would find success as well. And so on the polarity of that, where as an artist and as someone building something so luxury and not needed, you know, people need your systems of, you know, order, and people need your systems of, you know, methods to the madness to be healthy. Like those are very important needs, but you don't need my fire pit. You genuinely don't need to. And or any of my artwork at all. It's a totally this want in catering to the desires and the passions, like really things that are extra in life. That's what I'm bringing to life. And so by being so unneeded, it's this dilemma that I struggle with, because I'm genuinely trying to bark up the trees of people that are like already, basically most people can't afford to buy cool stuff that they want because they don't have their priorities right, you know? And so I have to like very target these people that have so many things in life in order to, before they're even qualified to spend thousands of dollars on a fire pit that they don't need, you know? And so it's like this weird thing where I'm building and, you know, catering to a total different vibration, you know, because like you guys, as like you said, very service oriented, very very needed services in systems. I'm just not that. And so, but at the end of the day, I do know the whole being tethered to, you know, just living and showing people that you could live as an artist or whatever entrepreneurial hustle that we want, and it couldn't work. And so it's like a weird dilemma. It's like, I know I'm needed and I matter, but at the end of the day, no one really needs what I'm doing. You know?
That's an interesting observation, and I'm just gonna make a footnote. I want to keep hearing from other people, and I'm even gonna make a note because I'm realizing that like it's easy for some of us that talk a lot to talk a lot, and not hear from everybody. I really want to try to hear from everybody today. But you pointed it out. I didn't realize it. You're literally the only one in the room that produces a physical product. The rest of us are all service industry in some way or another. And there's an aspect, I think, and I'm sure that there'll be a lot of nods of agreement to this. We feel the same in opposite. We don't actually produce anything. You actually produce a thing. Like you can actually hold the thing that you make.
A widget.
And yours is probably too heavy to maybe hold in your hands like I'm holding like this, but like you make a thing. You can point to it and be like, I made that. All of us, we do things that it's like, did I do anything? Did I really like create something? It's all, anyway,
It's a theory.
and it, that feeling of, oh man, I wish I made something real, or so well observed, but let's keep this moving around the table here.
I have a comment and it kind of dovetail what this gentleman was saying earlier, and that's, I think it's important just as business owners and entrepreneurs to realize that, even though we do have a tendency to put all of our customers and people that we serve first always, and then ourselves last, that we do matter. And it's important to take a step back and remind ourselves for our own mental health that we do matter. Because otherwise, sometimes we can spiral downward, if we feel that we're insignificant, and then it leads to, can lead to mental depression and kind of a downward sort of internal, death spiral, if you will. And we have to just make kind of the expression. Sometimes you just got to, take a walk and smell the roses, kind of thing, and do that more often than we probably do on a consistent basis to make sure that we kind of are able to reset and reprioritize so we can be stronger within and then stronger for our customers as well.
Nice. Like it.
So I'm gonna piggyback off of what you were talking about of like, I have this product, but doesn't really matter to people. And you had said in the beginning, like, it's one thing to think about you matter, right? But I matter. Like when you said that, I was like, oh yeah, that got to hit deep, right? And this is something that I just personally struggled with, kind of on that same level of like putting, whether it's a workshop or putting something out there, or a product or a service, and then nobody buys it. Like, well, gosh, do I even matter? Do what I put out there matter? And for me, I had to start like asking that question of like, why is this so painful when I put something out and it like is rejection? And for me personally, it was a fear of rejection, like a deep fear of rejection and not feeling like I mattered in different areas of growing up, right? And that carries into business and how we think about ourselves. But I think it's important that we do understand that we matter, because we can't make an impact on other people if we don't truly believe that we matter, or what we do or what we offer matters. And I was just having this conversation with a client the other day, and she was, came from a big family and was like, I just felt like I didn't matter when I grew up, right? Like I didn't feel seen, I didn't feel heard, and that impacts how we show up in the world. And if we're still holding on to that pain, we don't get to show up and make an impact on the other people in the world. So when he said that, I was like, oh yeah, that hits.
Yeah. I want to piggyback on piggyback.
Yeah.
When I'm trying to formulate how to explain to, one of our students, when they go into a networking event, how should their mindset be, as they go in? And what we work on, and I was trying to find the words for it, and what I came up with was, if you have in your mindset before you ever walk in, that the people you are about to meet, whether you know them or not, matter.
Yeah, come on.
And whether or not they are in situations that are less comfortable than you, or they're doing just fine, thank you, right now. But we've all been through stuff, and we're still going to go through stuff. And the mindset for what satisfied me was to coach that way and just say, look, don't just take on face value what they do for a living. How many statistic came out the other day that in a lifetime, we go through 12 different jobs, 12. And all of that was something that brought a ton of really good experience with it if you played your cards right. So when you're even hiring somebody later on that's worked somewhere else, don't discount all of those experiences, right? Don't discount that. So we lead with that. We just say, you matter, you have a voice, you'd like to be heard.
Yeah.
The biggest reward for me is knowing that the person that's in front of me, that is in my space, that I'm associated with, that I'm presenting to, realizes they matter. And it's up to me as a steward to let them know, what subliminally, not saying you matter, but subliminally expressing, and a light bulb goes off, and you can tell when you're presenting or talking to somebody that they realize, wow, I matter to this person. I matter in this conversation. And it changes the whole outlook.
Kind of feel that as well, because especially for making my clients feel like they matter, is developing that close personal connection with them. Because when somebody wants to plan a vacation, they want somebody to have their backs. They don't want to have to call and re-explain themselves or stress out trying to find that right hotel for them when they have no clue what they're doing. But it also goes beyond that for me with people, because if I check in with them during their trip, they're like, oh my gosh, he's thinking about me. It's not just I'm sending them off their way and I never talk to them again. And it also makes me feel valued at the same time, because when I do a good job, people will talk about me. And it's so refreshing when you get that referral, because somebody heard about you through somebody else. And they already have a positive impact in their mind on who you are and what you do. Because there are plenty of people who could probably do my job, who are doing my job out there. But there is only one me and what I can do and what I can provide for people. And that's what I try to tell myself every single day, whether somebody decides to work with me or not. And if somebody doesn't, I've had that thought where, do I matter? Did it matter enough to them to work with me? But then realize, well, maybe it's not that I wasn't the right fit for them. Were they the right fit for me? Because it goes both ways.
That's good. And I've actually wanted to make this pivot, and we're right about the top of the hour. So I'm going to take a quick station break and thank Idic Designs and Dry Fly again, and remind everybody to go out and have a great weekend this weekend. I want to pivot, and Stephen said this last week after we were all done, and I was like, that's a good point. This is a business conversation, and it's good to bring this to a business aspect. And something that Sheree and I were talking about right before we got started has just been like rattling around in my brain, because I went to a networking meeting yesterday, and I'm going to actually shout out Alignable and Josh Jamerson. Josh does an amazing job filling a room with really amazing people. And a few of the people that are here today were from that event yesterday. All that to say, I was talking to Sheree and I said, there's some people that you meet at a networking meeting, and in your head, you say, you don't matter to me right now. And I'm adding on the to me right now. It's not that that person doesn't matter. It's not that they might not matter to you at some point in the future, but right now I am looking for, and let's say I'm looking for more clients. I'm looking for somebody that can help me get my systems lined up. I'm looking for someone that can help me get healthy. This is what I'm here looking for. And you are, and for me, I'm a realtor. So if I meet another realtor, like, hey, there was a realtor there in the room. It's like, hey, great, nice to see you. Let's move on. You don't matter to me right now. Doesn't mean they don't matter. Doesn't matter they don't matter to me. But in that moment, what I'm there for, the reason I'm there, that there's a disconnect there. And so that happens. And Dave is the how to handle a networking guru. So I'll let you maybe pause and let a few people weigh in before you give us all your wisdom. But how do you handle and the rejection, right? If you're on the receiving end of that, right? Like, oh, hi, nice to meet you. You don't matter, see it. Yeah. It's like, oh man, I thought this was gonna go somewhere. How do you process? Because the thing is, if everyone matters, no one matters. And that might be a hot take mic drop that doesn't really work itself out completely. But how do you choose where you spend your time? And we talked about this a little bit last week with family, right? I could spend all my time with my family, never go work, never sell a house, never do anything great. They matter a lot to me, and we develop really deep relationships. We're also probably going to be living on the street, because with no income coming in, I can't spend money on the things that we need. So there's this kind of balancing act, and that comes into the business aspect of where do I prioritize my time? How do I say, hey, picking up the phone and calling Cherie matters. Todd, maybe not so much. Sorry, Todd. Take it on you, Todd. We appreciate it. I'm so glad that was in the frame. Like, that was just perfect. So that's, I kind of want to pivot to that in your business, in your life, work balance, in that rhythm. How do you choose where you put what matters? How do you choose what matters in a moment? And I'll throw in a little like gotcha. If the honest answer to that is, yeah, I'm just going to scroll Facebook for a little while, be honest with that, because maybe and I'm being honest with that. I struggle with that, right? Like, I have so many people I could reach out to and make a solid connection, but I'm just going to see what the Facebook people are saying for a minute and get lost in that. So,
well, I want to jump in for a second, not because I have the answer, but because that really hits me personally. That's a huge thing I'm working through right now. Just to be super transparent. And I think that part is I think when it comes to like, what are the vows we made when we were a kid, right? Like, what are the things that drive us and set our reticular activating system in our brain to like filter out all the things that aren't important to us and filter in the things that are like pop to us. For me, I think one of my deep-seated fears is that people will walk away from interacting with me and think that they're not accepted or that they don't matter to me. And so because of that, I will go overboard to make sure they know they're cared for, to make sure they know they matter, to make sure they know I'll spend too much time. Like, honestly, if you ever had like a coffee meeting with me and you were like, we're done 15 minutes ago. And I'm like, well, my internal clock says it's an hour 15. And like, I haven't shown you I cared enough. You know what I mean? It's that thing, right? But I think there is that tension. And I think Jonathan brought this awesome perspective to it, but then my family doesn't, right? There's that tension where if you're a business owner, if you are in a self-directed role, if you have, any component of control over your income, there is a part where we owe it to our family, our business, the clients who haven't met us yet, who have an urgent need that we can meet, right? And so to me, that's a total tension of that part. And I think really it's that difference that I'm learning to hold in both hands of the you matter as a human. And then can we have honest conversations about the purpose of being here in this room together? Like one of our advisors, and I don't want to take too long, but just something that I've been thinking about and becoming more and more comfortable with. I was so uncomfortable with at first. One of our advisors, Tiffany Kellogg, is the preferred speaker on the BNI podcast. Got a chance to be on a call with her and Ivan Meisner, who founded BNI, like really cool stuff, right? And one of the things that she talks about, she teaches networking, referral relationships. One of the things she talks about is being in a networking group, talking with somebody for a few minutes and then going, hey, it was so great talking with you. I know you came to meet other people. Let's, catch each other before we leave. Boom. And it's like, oh my gosh, there's so much freedom in that, right? Like, we don't have to stand here and be like, I took half an hour to look into your eyes. If we're gonna do that, right? Like, let's put a time on the weekend to actually just hang out. So we did come here for business and just being honest with that.
It's good. I like that.
I feel like I kind of want to go the opposite direction. Combine some information from my coach Dave here and my coach from afar, Steve Chandler. Big fan of Steve Chandler's work as well. But combining them, they talk about, the person that matters the most is the person that's right in front of you right now. So as a coach, like, your job is just to be there with the person that you see. Combining that with Dave talks about going into networking. Everyone in that room matters, even if they're not your typical avatar client, not your ideal referral partner, or even if they're a direct competitor like another realtor, because you don't know what could come out of a conversation with a realtor. She might introduce you to someone like Brian Buffini. You don't know. There's something that might be somewhere. I know one of his old mentors. I get to twist that knife once in a while. You just don't know where that conversation goes. You don't know who they know, what ideas they share. It's just the person that's in front of you is the person that matters the most.
Like that.
I think I've got the segue for that, because when this topic got started, I immediately jumped into the oldest influence in my life is a book called Finite and Infinite Games by James Parse. And back then in, ancient days at 1988, I had been reading this book. I had no idea, no expectation of what the book was. It was a used book. I just liked the title and I bought it and I was reading it on my Sunday mornings. And I came across this quote and I marked it on the side and I wrote in the margin, I said, "This is what I hope to become." And this is the quote I marked. It says, "Surprise in infinite play is the triumph of the future over the past. Since infinite players do not regard the past as having an outcome, they have no way of knowing what has been begun there. With each surprise, the past reveals a new beginning in itself, inasmuch as the future is always surprising, the past is always changing. Because infinite players are, whoops, no, I missed it. Okay. Anyway, the thing that here's where it went. Because infinite players prepare themselves to be surprised by the future, they play in complete openness. Not an openness as in candor, but an openness as in vulnerability. It's not a matter of exposing one's unchanging identity, the true self that has always been, but a way of exposing one's ceaseless growth, the dynamic self that has yet to be. To be prepared against surprise is to be trained. To be prepared for surprise is to be educated."
Can I ask you a question? Because that was a lengthy quote, lengthy excerpt there. What does that mean to you in 10 words or less?
So what it has always meant
digest.
to me is that every connection, you were just saying it there when you said the person in front of you, the person that's there right now, the point of openness is not to barf out everything that goes on in your life, but to realize every conversation you have now has unknown impact on you in the future. So why not have it? Because don't sit here and say, "Oh, you matter, you don't matter, you matter, you don't matter." Everything has potential in the future. And I know it's not 10 words.
I wasn't gonna point it out, but I appreciate that.
I know that look.
I'll do it in 2 words, net gain. What do I mean by that? Is that if you take that whole quote, it was a long quote, at the end of the day, for me, the past is past, okay? And we've experienced it, and we're moving on, but everybody matters, as you just said, they're in front of you, okay? But what do you receive out of that? Net gain. And we need to look at that as a net gain, regardless if it's right now, it's going to be, especially if we look at people at the level in which they're approached you, or you are now in conversation with them. At the end of that, it's a net gain. So that's how I interpret that.
I'd like to, I'm just gonna, real quick, Gay Ribble, our better half of Dave, had a comment here. She says, "Not everyone is your person, and that's wisdom, not rejection. You don't have to force alignment. Your energy knows. If something feels tight, heavy, or off, pay attention. Alignment feels steady, easy, expansive. You can be fully yourself without performing or shrinking. Some people are meant to stay, others are meant to teach and pass through. Trust the exhale. Your people will feel like truth, not tension." So that was great to share, and
That was great.
we don't listen to ourselves enough. So I like how she brought that up. Listen to what our body is telling us, what we're feeling.
Did she say trust the exhale?
Yeah, trust the exhale.
I love that. I'm all about the breathing rhythm. Sure.
I was just gonna say, I used to go into networking meetings with a very scarcity mindset, right? Of I've got to connect with my next client. I've got to find clients. And that's a very different energy than just going into networking and making connections and showing up in service. And so for me personally, that changed the game and how I see certain people. And yes, maybe not every connection is the right connection. And on the same note of that, how do you decide where to spend your time and energy? It's also important to have boundaries, right? And so like if somebody wants to meet with me one-on-one, I have a very limited time, right? And I block like all my Fridays. If you want an in-person meeting with me, it's on a Friday. Can't do that. Like it's got to go out, right? And so I think there can be a both and, right? Of not just brushing people off, but also being very intentional about where you're spending your time and your energy. And in networking, I think you can get a pretty good sense of like, okay, is this going to be the right person to continue to connect with? And if they are, then you're going to pursue it. And if they're not, then, maybe not. And if they want to pursue you, they can. But I loved that, like that. I think that summed it up really well. Like I'm a huge fan of like listening to your body because I did it for a long time and really listening to your intuition and knowing when it's the right fit. I will say in networking though, I feel like you can tell when people are present with you and when they're like constantly and I'm not going to connect with that person, right? Like if you're just scanning to like, and so everybody's different and we're just maybe not the
I'm
right.
glad Debbie brought up her contribution because that's such a great, like, there's times in networking where the conversation's kind of finished, but it feels rude to just like,
Yeah.
you're done.
Yeah. For sure.
Or as Todd said last week, you're done with me. I really like the way Debbie introduced, I like the way like, hey, I know you're here to meet other people, so I'm gonna let you go ahead and do that. And if we can reconnect at the end as we say our goodbyes, so. Especially, yeah, especially if you get, you see someone darting around looking for the next, like, yeah, you can release them.
Yeah. That's
And it's just, yeah.
I usually just say you got 5 minutes, we're done. I don't.
That's Todd, if you ever know it.
like, all right, moving on.
I have your second book. So I was just thinking about this networking, about mattering. And I got a title, Networking Paradox. So when I go into places, maybe paradigm would be a better word. When I go into places, I go in totally open armed. I'll just be candid with you. I saw John at the thing yesterday, made eye contact. I know that brother. We sat in my office. We've talked about the hardest, deepest things. We only talk today, but I go in totally open armed and I don't really look for anything. But the paradox there is that I am incredibly intentional when I go after clients. So even though I've been to many activities this week, met lots of lovely people, I probably had 6 real deep conversations and that's fine. Thinking about the net gain thing. Who do they know? Who do they know? Who do they know? Right. But I am super intentional. So there's just tension that can be existing. So, right. So I put in like $500,000 in clients I'm trying to get this week. I didn't see any of those people at any of the networking events. Was that a waste of time for me to go to those places? Absolutely not. So I think when I go in, I'm open armed. I'm trying to be as present as I can. And of course you have conversations like, oh, I need to like get with this person later. But see, my superpower is I just connect after. I don't expect the networking event to go deep necessarily. I'm just connecting and then it's on me. If I think that person matters, I'm going to call, I'm going to give an email. I'm going to say, hey, let's get together. I mean, I'm going to hunt you down. I'm just being honest. But there's a tension. But I've just found in my own experience is, man, you go in totally open to whatever, and then you're an intentional mother in your private time to who you're trying to get for a client.
You can run, but you can't hide.
I have special talents.
I think I like the way that you said that. And I was thinking about how to say more or less the same thing. And I feel like you just put it in a really concise package. And I'll try not to make a concise package elaborate, but I think the main thing being as a tool that we can take into networking meetings, I've often been surprised at how long people will talk in a clump at a net. It's like if the goal is to meet everyone in the room, make enough of a connection that we're gonna figure out, is this something I'm pursuing further? Is this something and even to the, you might not matter to me right now, but if I matter to you, it's on you to follow up. And yeah, if we have the whole coffee meeting at the networking, there's no reason to reconnect later. So it's like, get the contact information, make that happen. I loved, looking for Josh Jamerson. He's not here right now. But he hosted the event yesterday. He had this little paper that you could fill out, like, here's the 3 people I want to follow up with. And so whether you're a paper and pen person, whether you're in your phone, but like, find the people. And I did. I got home that night and I was like, these 2 people, I need to send a follow-up message like, hey, I really appreciated hanging out with you. I'd like to get to know you further. I already am working on getting them on the books to connect. And that doesn't mean that the other people I talked to didn't matter. They all had, and I love that you brought up that you and I saw each other, because I did the same thing. I was like, Lauren's here. And it's like this hug from a distance, like, oh, I know that guy. We're close.
You and I could just have left and went and had a conversation for 4 hours.
And we could have easily.
Easy.
But it was like, that's not why either of us were there. And it's like, oh man. And I think I introduced you to somebody that I've been talking to, and, which is another good little trick, by the way. If you're at a networking meeting and you're talking to somebody that's just like, they don't get it and they're not taking the cues, when somebody else that you know comes up like, hey Todd, I'd like to introduce you to Lauren, and let them start talking, and then you could just kind of.
I've done that.
Ghost.
All right, we've got about 10 minutes left. Feels like a nice natural pause. I want to give space for any of the contemplative ones that have been really just soaking this in, and you have a few thoughts, but you haven't quite figured out how you want to articulate it. We'll just let the conversation breathe for a second. If there's something that
Alec, you're on deck.
he knows I was talking about him.
You know, when you first brought it up, I was really struck by the arc or cyclical nature of I Have Meaning, based on production and usefulness and even, you know, respect or whatever. You know, when I got done with my previous career, I felt just totally undone by it and was wondering if I'd ever matter in the grand scheme of things again. Like, and I remember it took me, you know, a good year and a half to gain any kind of confidence to stand up in the world. But there seemed like it's become cyclical for me, and there's an arc to it. And maybe it's just because I'm me. But I think all of us deal with, hey, sometimes I feel awesome and I feel like I can change the world. And other times I'm really dealing with, you know, childhood stuff or dad issues or, you know, big fail or whatever. You know, you crash and burned on the last turn and now you know if you'll never get the car again, you know? So for me, that was the thought that was coming to mind, is that there seems like there's arc issues, cyclical issues, times and seasons of life where you feel like, yeah, you can take on the world, and other seasons of life where you want to crawl in bed and suck your thumb.
Yep.
Well, maybe not suck your thumb, literally.
Kind of adding on what you said, Alec, I think sometimes we put this high value on ourselves that we matter, that sometimes we forget we're human too and we make mistakes. And I run into that all the time. I didn't get that restaurant that the client really wanted. Does that make me incapable of doing my job? No, I keep having to remind myself, it just means that I'm human and I make mistakes too.
Yeah.
I will never forget a client of mine, mistake happened, and he actually left it off. He's like, you know what? I'm actually glad you did. That shows me you're human. I haven't been working with a robot the whole time. I'm not working with AI. So it's really interesting, and not to be too hard of yourself, but also know you have limitations and to be okay with that as well. Because one of the things I try to do is not set up that I'm perfect. So I will do everything in my power to help you.
That is such a good point of being able to, because to me, the thought that comes into my mind is the difference between perfection and excellence. You can't have both. You can't have both. And it sounds like you're pursuing excellence, which includes the human mistakes, right? It means you can aim farther. You can go for things that you couldn't if it was just like hitting the little mark every single time, right? So I think the thought that keeps coming back to my mind is when it comes to mattering, something Todd read in that little quote stood out to me. I don't know if you still have it, but there was something in there that spoke to me about impact on others. And I think really we're talking about two different concepts. We're talking about value, inherent value, showing everyone their inherent value, our inherent value regardless. Thank you, I appreciate it.
Table
Um, our inherent value regardless. And then we're also talking about what is that impact? What would be that difference if I weren't here in others' lives? Not just in general, but in others' lives. So reading it again, thank you so much. Mattering is the feeling or belief that you are significant, important, or valued by others, and that your existence makes a difference. That part to me is huge, that your existence makes a difference. We often talk about the, I'm blanking on the term. It was a movement that I grew up in for sure. I was born in 83. So I grew up in that movement of the self-esteem movement. And it's that difference between them going, whoa, 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 we made a big mistake. Now we've got a bunch of entitled kids who are trying to hang on to this sense of like, my worth is, perfection and doing everything right. So we can't have a growth mindset. We can't make mistakes. We can't fail forward and going, oops, we meant to go toward resiliency and toward, that concept really that comes out to me that your existence makes a difference. Really, we're talking about self-efficacy, that part of like, I can do this thing. It's like, yeah, I'm confident in my value. That's not the question, right? Like I have value just because I exist. It doesn't have to have an impact on others. If I never had an impact on another human being, I would still have inherent value. I know that's like, whoa, we could like wrestle on that one. I believe that. But what is my impact? What is that butterfly effect? What are the things in other people's lives or my own life coming at me from others that are forever different because of the impact that I had, because of that thing I did, because I had the courage to start that conversation or to challenge somebody or to, take the moment to send somebody a photo and say, well, I was thinking about you today. That could be awkward. Somebody could be like, what are you trying to do? But because it feels weird, we don't hang back from doing it because we know it's important to do it.
Thanks, Debbie. I appreciate that. I think we're gonna wrap this up, kind of put a bow on it. Stephen, you talked about, and you pronounced it nihilist. I tend to say nihilist.
I'm pretty sure it's German, so who knows?
I'm curious, like nihilist, nihilist. Show of hands, nihilist.
No idea.
Nihilist. All right, interesting, fascinating. So nihilism being the idea like
root.
root, yeah, thank you. Nothing really matters because we're all space dust, all that stuff. And I think Debbie, what you just said, like I honestly, like if it was closer to 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock, I would have just like ended it at that. Like that was like nailed it. I think that what can tend to happen is we fall into this nihilistic, nothing really matters, I don't matter, or I do matter, or this is it, right? I'm just gonna lay on the couch all day, like whatever, like nothing really matters. What is that song?
I was singing it too.
Queen, yes.
Oh, yeah.
Nothing really matters. I'm trying so hard not to sing it. Because if I start, it's gonna go.
I think you should.
Oh, I'm hearing it around the room. But what we can tend to do is not step out into mattering to someone else, right? I'm so self-focused that I don't show up in a room. I don't, and even like engaging with family, right? It's like, like I'm so in my head, like why even bother? And I think that like taking that small step towards something, and I think you were like kind of even joking about like Todd making it, like I have found, and for me, it'll be stepping out at like a social event and being like, you really look good today. I feel really awkward complimenting somebody's looks because of all the stuff in my head about like guy-girl relationships and it's just a lot in that. And so like to look somebody in the eye, and now I'm looking at Dave, so it's not all, this is an attractive man, right? Like to say that to him, that's awkward and weird, but like when somebody says that they like your shirt or your outfit looks good, like you just like stand a little bit tall and it's like,
It's a good shirt you got on.
thank you.
I thought you put that on for the conversation.
Yeah,
Good
it's
choice.
pretty warm up here, so I try to. Thank you, Steven. But like, once you do it once and you get a positive response to it, man, that just fuels. You're like, oh, that was really cool. I'm gonna try that again. And all of a sudden, you become this person that is confident in that space. I'm gonna have to wrap it up here, but I have a friend that just touches people. And I saw him touching people and I was like, it made me super uncomfortable because I kind of like, I love a good hug. But like, I feel really weird, especially like touching somebody, a stranger, right? Like, and that's why, Todd, because
They can snap.
they can snap, you never know. Anyway, I am gonna wrap it up. It is 2:00. Guys, thank you so much, everybody that was here in the room, those of you on Facebook and future watching this on YouTube. Come down every Friday, we have lunch, absolutely amazing lunch provided by Idic Designs at Dry Fly. The pizza gets better every week, it's flatbread pizza, it is off the charts. Dave?
I think it's really important that everybody understand that we will be replaying this and you can still invite people
Yes.
to learn about what's going on here.
Yes, this goes out on YouTube, so you can share this with people that are like, oh man, somebody needs to hear this. And you can even send it with a text message. You matter to me. You matter to me. I was listening to this and it made me think about you because you matter to me. You're important to me. So actually, that's my challenge for this week.
Good idea.
Find somebody that matters to you, tell them that they matter, send them this video, and we will see you all next week for Fourth Friday.
Yeah,
Do we have
Yes.
somebody lined up for that?
we sure do. Katie Tolley, from Maddie's Place is coming to talk about intentionality, and it's gonna be really
Awesome. So next week, intentionality, Katie from Maddie's Place, and
Maddie's
Debbie's
Place,
gonna be hosting that conversation, so we'll see how that goes.
yeah. We'll
And
see.
we'll see you all next week.